I'm Grace Jensen.
And I'm Patrick Brennan.
And this quarter we worked on our project that we entitled Why Not Wind? So for this project we worked to create a clean energy consortium with nearby schools and also Washington State to create a wind turbine farm proposally in eastern Washington to promote sustainable campuses across the state.
The reason that this project is necessary is because President Shepherd has signed an agreement to reach carbon net neutrality by 2050. Right now we have some goals or some initiatives to meet this goal, such as building renovations, but the only way that we can actually meet this goal is if we transfer to renewable energy. So right now, to make this happen, we're gathering information from interested schools, such as their concerns, electricity usage, and gauging their interest as well as their need. This graph depicts WWU's greenhouse gas emissions from 2007 all the way projected out to 2050. As you can see, it's really ambitious and we've got a steep slope off from 2014. And once again, this just reiterates that we're not going to be able to meet this goal unless we change to a different source of energy.
And so this is a pie chart that was provided by Western that shows exactly how Western emits carbon. And so as you can tell, the largest percentage is 37%, which pertains to the purchased electricity through Western. And so we are hoping that through this presentation, you guys will be able to understand how we are going to propose to eliminate this percentage into a much smaller amount, and so Western can offset their dirty energy in the future. And so this Western Washington University currently uses 36 million kilowatt hours of energy a year. And as you can tell by the fuel mix report provided by Puget Sound Energy, 36% of it rather is from hydro, which is a renewable resource, but roughly 60% comes from natural gas and coal, which is a non-renewable carbon emitting resource. And so wind percent currently is at 3%, and we hope to switch the values from 3% to encompass all of the natural or all of the non-renewable resources in the future. And so with the knowledge that Western Washington University uses 36 million kilowatt hours a year, we have estimated that it's going to take 8 2-megawatt wind turbines to completely offset our dirty energy use here. And so roughly each 2-megawatt wind turbine will produce 4.38 million kilowatt hours per year. And so the total cost of the 8 turbines is looking between $24 to $32 million. And so while it is a hefty project, the payback period with the renewable resource will pay off in the future. And with the wind that is currently available in eastern Washington, it's a consistent, steady wind. We feel that that is the best proposed ideal site for our wind farm project.
So we have the schools we showed interest in and the ones that we attempted to contact most successfully were Central Washington University, Eastern Washington University, Evergreen State College, the University of Washington, Washington State University, and Whitman College. And with these colleges, we conducted interviews across the board with faculty members, including Brian Burton and John Furman from Western, who are the Associate VP for Academic Affairs, along with the Director of Facilities Management. We were able to reach with Claudia Ferrer-Anderson, who is the UW Director of Sustainability, as well as Jean McGregor, who is the Evergreen Sustainability Curriculum Coordinator. And from Whitman campus, we were able to contact Tristan Sewell, who's a Campus Sustainability Coordinator. And through these interviews, there were some clear barriers and ideas that needed to be addressed. One of them was the funding concerns. Obviously, going to these schools and asking for large chunks of money. People wanted to know exactly where their money was going and other ways to invest or other sources of income, such as state or local funding.
And another issue that we came across was both location and ownership. So speaking of location, we talked with Brian Burton, who is interested in trying to get some wind turbines here on campus. Unfortunately, the size of the turbines that we want are going to be too large to fit on Seahome Hill, which would be his proposed site. So what we're thinking is, as with Whitman College, which we'll talk about in the future, they did a small turbine on their campus which shows their commitment to renewable energy. So that's something that we could potentially do. As for ownership, we want to talk about owning versus leasing the land. That's something that John Furman brought up in our interview with him. So we want to know which is more economically viable for Western, as well as make sure if we lease the land that it is in compliance with a loan contract if we had to do that. So for example, some loan contracts would want us to lease the land for 10 or 15 years. So we want to make sure that it matches up between contracts.
And so we are 3 college students with limited resources, and so unfortunately we can't go out and get the exact numbers that we can propose to our interested stakeholders. And so we don't know the exact cost of how much each wind turbine is going to cost and how many wind turbines each school is going to need. And so we are going to propose to give our information that we've gathered throughout the quarter in our study to a third-party consultant. And I think one of the biggest, not barriers, but way to overcome them has been stressed in the role of student involvement. And so for each of the conducted interviews, at least it had been brought up at least once or multiple times, that students on campuses have a very large voice, and they are vital in trying to get any idea rolling and trying to get administrative and faculty support behind it.
This graph depicts students' willingness to pay for a zero carbon commitment fee. This was in a previous project that was done for this clean energy project in this class. So as you can see, with each proposed fee, a majority of students have agreed to commit to paying this per quarter. Even at the highest fee of $145 per quarter, we had 60% of students say that they would be willing to pay this. So this graph not only shows that students want this to happen on campus, but also that we would have a potential funding avenue, which would support this project. And we have an example of a success story of using student fees to fund a project right here at Western with the Rec Center. So the total cost for construction, equipment, furnishings came to about $26.7 million. That's pretty comparable to the $24 to $32 million we see for the cost of the wind turbines. And it was funded both with student fees and construction bonds. The student fees then paid off the construction bonds. And as of now, from 2003, the fee has been $99, and the only way to change or increase or lower this fee is with the student faculty committee that runs the rec center. And this shows that it's something that the students can keep doing with our project if we have a student faculty fee, so they can remain involved in the project. And the fees total to an income of about $4 million per year. So that's, once again, something that we can foresee as working with our project.
And so while we were researching different possibilities and ideas for our project, we stumbled upon Whitman University. And so Whitman actually owns parcels of farmlands across 4 different counties in eastern Washington. And what they did is they contracted with Florida Power and Light, and they constructed 70 wind turbines across the entire farmland. And so what it is, they have they're smaller wind turbines. They're only 660 kilowatts, whereas most now today are more than 2 megawatts. And so they don't own the actual turbines, but they own the land. And so they receive royalties from their energy generated. And so they usually equate to about roughly $100,000 a year. Well, it does depend on the month generated of energy, depending on the wind source coming in. And so that is a good example of how if we decided not to actually purchase the wind turbines themselves, we could possibly purchase the land and then rent out our services as a lease. And also, as Kalli had mentioned previously, Whitman just completed a student design project. It was a student installation, construction, and design of a vertical axis wind turbine on the heart of their campus. And so, since it was on the heart of their campus, they're not going to be receiving enough wind to actually charge or power any of the school buildings. But they designed their own and promoted it as a green, sustainable campus. And it actually can charge 1 cell phone at a time on their campus.
All right, so the next case study we looked at was with the University of Minnesota. It was in 2011 that they built a 2.5 megawatt wind turbine, so it's a little bit bigger than the ones that we're looking at. They built it on the OLIS Wind Energy Research Station, and students love this because it's great for research opportunities, especially for students looking at becoming engineers or technicians. So that's something that Western could really get into and students would really be involved in. They got funding from the U.S. Department of Energy. They got about $8 million, so that's, again, something that Western could look into to fund this project. And I really like this picture because it shows University of Minnesota's commitment to wind energy. So if we transfer that over to Western and get our logo onto our wind turbines, it's just a really great kind of way to show our commitment as well.
With such a large project and multiple institutions involved, as we mentioned before, a third party to figure out all the logistics and orchestrate all the universities is necessary. And one example of that is the Capital Partners Solar Project. They worked with Customer First Renewables, who is a green energy firm. Customer First Renewables was able to align American University, George Washington University, and the George Washington University Hospital into a consortium where they have a solar panel project in North Carolina. So this solar panel farm is supplied by Duke Energy Renewables, and it generates 123 million kilowatt hours. That's the equivalent of either removing 60,000 metric carbon dioxide tons per year from the atmosphere, as well as powering 80,000 homes. So, and they also talk about the leasing of the land. So they have trustees who are leasing out parts of their land for their solar energy farm, and a lot of cases 25% of their land will go to the panels and they keep 75% for agriculture. And since our proposed site is in eastern Washington, that's a really viable idea that we can use for our wind farms as well.
So the future of our project is looking very optimistic. As of recently, we've been contacting the interested schools in obtaining their energy profiles. And so the energy profiles are the total energy usage for an entire year, and then also the total cost for the entire year, and then also the makeup of their energy use. If it's hydro, wind, solar, or even coal or natural gas. And so what we hope to do is to acquire a month-to-month yearly report and then send it to a third-party consultant, previous as to what Grace had mentioned, just Customer First Renewables or companies similar to them, where they will be able to hire a full-time researcher to actually get exact estimates and also be able to provide us with information as to sell it to our investors and stakeholders. And I think back to the student involvement, if we can achieve unifying campuses across the state, we'd be able to achieve our goal a lot more easier. We have been talking with students on different campuses, but I think in the future we're going to be trying to involve different clubs across campuses to try and help promote a green and sustainable energy consortium in the future.
And again, it's just necessary to build a wind farm because, as we know, the renovations, anything that we can do a building is still not going to be enough to get that carbon neutrality agreement by 2050. So we really do need a new source of energy.